Next up, it's a movie spotlight, our Friday feature reviewing the latest releases at the Korean box office and online. Joining me in the studio this week are our film critics, Jason Bechervaise and Darcy Paquet. Gentlemen, hello, happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going great. It's great to see you both. And I would like to start this segment today by telling our listeners that starting from this week, we'll be filming our movie spotlight segments and uploading them on our KBS World Radio YouTube page. It is something new that we are trying. So that means not only will you get to see the handsome faces of our two esteemed critics, well, at least Darcy for today. Perhaps in the future, once the pandemic passes, we can all take our masks off and get to see Jason's face as well. But it will also hopefully serve as a sort of archive of our film reviews, which I think will be particularly valuable for our reviews of Korean films to come in the future. So please do keep an eye out for that and check it out when you can. Gentlemen, in the meantime, don't mind the cameras and just do what you guys do best.
We'll try our best.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll try our best indeed.
So this week we will be looking at the Academy Award nominations that were announced on Tuesday. But before we get to that, we do have a review to get through. And it is the return of the famous Belgian detective Hercule Poirot. Death on the Nile was released in Korean cinemas this week, starring and directed by Kenneth Branagh. It is a follow-up to his 2017 adaptation of Murder on the Orient Express, which was a global hit that grossed over $350 million worldwide. They are, of course, both based on novels by Agatha Christie. Let's start there, actually, Jason. Can you give us some background on these two novels first?
Yeah, I think a lot of our listeners will know who Agatha Christie is. She's a famous British novelist. She's renowned for her very successful mystery genres. The Guinness Book of Records actually lists her as the most successful fiction writer of all time, with over 2 billion copies of a novel sold. She wrote 66 detective novels in total between her debut novel published in 1920 and her death in 1976. Of course, you mentioned Hercule Poirot. There's also Miss Marple, just her novels are so famous. Of course, Death on the Nile was published in 1937. Was also adapted to film in 1978. So, I've grown up knowing Agatha Christie, and I've always been intrigued by her novels, and it's always been fun to actually watch the small and the big screen adaptations. I went into this movie not with terribly high expectations, but I thought I would enjoy it.
Now, Darcy, the 2017 film, as we said, turned out to be a much bigger global success than I think people might have anticipated, because it can perhaps be described as a bit of an old-fashioned film in the way it was pretty much a straight adaptation, really, of the novel, and it had a very classic feel to it. What do you think it was about Murder on the Orient Express that helped it become such a hit?
Well, I think there are a few things, but I mean, basically, I guess it's just the enduring formula that comes from the original novel. And one thing that he did was I think he was successful in turning the old-fashioned feel of the film into a strength. And so the 1930s setting and this really kind of lavish lifestyle of the aristocracy at that time, created a distinctive look for the film. And so that was one thing that I think attracted some viewers. Certainly, these novels all have well-plotted stories, and there's something enduring about that. But the other thing is that, these stories have a lot of interesting personalities, and, they're the kind of roles that actors enjoy taking, because as you go through the film, the focus kind of shifts from one character to another. Everybody gets their own turn in the spotlight. There are moments in the film where you kind of suspect all of these characters of being the murderer. And so if you have a good casting agent, I think you can assemble a pretty good cast for these films. And certainly, 2017 film, Branagh took the lead role of Poirot himself, but it also featured Johnny Depp and Penelope Cruz and Willem Dafoe, Judi Dench, Michelle Pfeiffer, Olivia Colman, Daisy Ridley, Derek Jacobi. This is like an Oscar, nominations list in itself. So I think that was a big part of its success too.
And this time as well, Jason, Death on the Nile is no less star-studded either, right?
Yeah, so we've got Branagh himself playing Poirot. I personally think he's the best thing in it. We also have Gal Gadot, who many will remember from a leading role as Wonder Woman. We've also got the veteran actress Annette Bening, and also the up-and-coming actress Emma McKee from the Netflix series Sex Education. We also have Russell Brand. I mean, Russell Brand, he just feels, he comes across, I mean, everyone, I'm sure, is aware of his very kind of outgoing personality. And here he plays a very soft-spoken doctor. It seems very unusual for him, and I was quite intrigued by his performance in this film. And then we also have some awkward casting choices as well. We've got Armie Hammer, who, some will perhaps will be aware of his scandal with alleged sexual abuse towards several women. And in fact, I didn't see the trailer, but he plays one of the leading roles in this film, and yet he's kind of pulled from the trailer, so it's kind of awkward. And then we have Letitia Wright, who she played quite a significant role in Black Panther, but she's been embroiled in a smaller controversy over her alleged anti-vaccine stance. So some issues in terms of the cast. I mean, the film was actually shot before COVID hit, so it's been
a long time coming then, and it's got a lot of baggage, unfortunately, with it.
Yeah, so I think it's a very difficult film to kind of market, I think, given, I mean, obviously everyone knows about the story and the novel, but given the cast, it's very tricky indeed.
I don't think we have time to go into the actual story, but safe to say it is a murder mystery. I think that's enough for people to know before they go in. But Darcy, what did you make of the film?
I mean, I enjoyed it while it was on the screen. I haven't seen the 2017 film because my son is in the middle of reading the novel and I'm waiting until he finishes.
Right,
before
very
we go and watch it.
respectful to your son.
Basically, it's very glossy. It's entertaining. Like it doesn't overstay its welcome too much. And again, the reveal I think is effective. And the film does make some effort to kind of provide a little bit of backstory as well to Poirot. And I'm not sure about the backstory. There's a long sequence that explains the origin of his famous mustache, and I'm not sure we really needed that. But while it was on the screen, I had a fun
it sounds
time.
like you're a little underwhelmed.
A little bit. I mean, it's been interesting reading the reviews because some people do like it quite a bit. Other people really don't like it at all. It really is kind of providing a whole spectrum of different experiences for its audience.
And Jason, what about you? You have seen the first film, right?
I've seen the first film. The first film's okay. I mean, I think the murder mystery fits into kind of the classical Hollywood mold very, very well and effectively. So, I mean, you have the kind of the build-up, you have the characters' development, and then you have the kind of inciting incident that comes a little bit later. You have the first murder, then you have the investigation, and then you have the climax, and then, then you have the narrative closure. And this film pretty much follows that. I mean, the first, a murder comes quite late in the film. I would say it's around about the hour point. But it's quite well paced. But yeah, it looks very kind of traditional. There's a lot of these kind of a very kind of impressive panning and a big focus on the colorful visuals. I mean, it was shot on location in Egypt, but there's also a lot of CGI, which I found a little bit off-putting. It's fine. It's not an amazing film, but I think a lot of people are they're in the mood for a murder mystery. Will enjoy the film for sure.
Okay, so that was Death on the Nile. Now, I flagged up earlier, instead of reviewing a second film this week, we're going to take some time to discuss the nominations for the 94th Academy Awards. They were announced in a ceremony in Los Angeles on Tuesday, with Jane Campion's The Power of the Dog and Denis Villeneuve's Dune receiving the largest number of nominations, with 12 and 10 respectively. Jason, can you give us a quick overview?
Yeah, it's very excuse me, sorry. It was definitely a very good day for Jane Campion, with her getting nominated. Well, the film, The Power of the Dog, was nominated for, I think, was it 11 nominations? 12 nominations, and including Best Picture, Best Directing, Best Cinematography, Editing, Music, Production Design, Sound, Adapted Screenplay, Best Actor for Benedict Cumberbatch, and 3 supporting actor nominations as well. And so I think Jane Campion is looking favourite for Best Director. So that'll be terrific, because that'll be the second year in a row that a female director would have won that award, after Chloe Zhao for her film Nomadland. It's a very interesting Oscar race. I mean, the Best Picture category seems wide open, and we also have Spielberg's West Side Story, that was nominated for 7. Well, it was received nominations in 7 categories, including Best Picture. And Steven Spielberg, I mean, he's just an incredible filmmaker, and first person in history to be nominated for Best Director in 6 different decades, going back to the 1970s.
Wow.
I think he's received 19 nominations.
Wow.
As either a director or a producer. So, it'd be an interesting awards race for sure.
Well, yes, definitely incredible about Steven Spielberg there. Darcy, each year when the nominations are announced, much focus is on who was snubbed by the Academy Awards as well. Any notable exclusions this year?
Yes, there were. Lady Gaga at the top of the list. I
Oh
think.
my goodness, yeah. Sorry, so go on, Darcy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who have seen her performance in House of Gucci, they were kind of buzzing about her performance. And at first, she seemed kind of like a shoo-in for the Best Actress category. But in the end, it was Kristen Stewart who kind of slipped in unexpectedly, and Lady Gaga was left out. Also, Jared Leto, who was snubbed for Best Supporting Actor from the same film. Which will upset some fans, but delight a lot of critics who thought that his performance was way over the top. Another surprising snub was Denis Villeneuve for Best Director, because Dune did get a lot of nominations, including Best Picture, and many technical categories, but not in the Best Director category. And so that rose
right, and that doesn't bode well for the Best Picture category either. Then,
well,
if the Best
actually,
Director...
it depends how you look at it. Because he didn't get a Best Director nomination, there may be more support for the Best Picture award. It'll be an interesting contest for sure, because obviously Netflix are in there with several films and several awards.
Yeah, Netflix has never won Best Picture, so they're...
Yeah, and they've come close, but you have to...
Right, The Power of the Dog is
it's
Netflix made film.
You have to remember that Oscars, they take place in Hollywood. They champion theatrical distribution, and Dune, for example, was as big a hit as a film could be during the pandemic. Yes, it was released on a streaming service, but it was also released theatrically. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that go all the way. But we'll see what happens.
We're almost out of time. Jason described it as an interesting selection this year. What do you make of it? Anything to note before we go?
I mean, a lot of international films, particularly the Japanese film Drive My Car, which got 4 nominations, including Best Film, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and the international category. There was also the Norwegian film, The Worst Person in the World, which I'm hugely looking forward to seeing. And that was nominated for Best Original Screenplay. So I think the fact that they've added a lot of international voters has resulted in this kind of more interesting, from my point of view, selection of films.
Certainly, we'll see who the big winners are on March 27th when the ceremony goes ahead. Then that will be all for our segment this week. Jason and Darcy, thank you for coming in as always. And we'll see you both again soon.
Yeah, see you next time.
Take care.